All right, what's going on there, folks? Good morning, good afternoon. Earthmaster here on this wonderful Friday. Thanks for checking in. It is November 3rd, 2023, about 11:14 a.m. here, California time. 6.4 earthquake coming in right now as we speak to the Nepal area. No surprise, there is the seismograph station there, at least around the vicinity. This one's actually there in Thailand and also Japan picking this up. So 6.4 earthquake coming in right now. Preliminary data right around the Nepal area. USGS not picking up on any of this earthquake activity yet. Let's go ahead and check out the information there from the EMSC model and see what they have to say about this earthquake. 6.0. These guys reporting a 6.0, it looks like, although coming into the earthquake 3D globe as a 6.4 in the Nepal area. Let's go ahead and check out the latest information statement here and see what's going on here across this area. 35 kilometers depth for this earthquake. Again, source parameters have not yet been reviewed by a seismologist, but let me back out of here. Looking at this seismograph station here in a couple different areas, I would say this is definitely around the mid-6 earthquake, potentially maybe a little bit higher. So we'll have to watch that and see if they raise this up or not. As far as the maps go, historical seismic activity around this region, very active area of the Himalayas, of course a major subduction zone, and a major source out there of some large damaging earthquakes. Again, USGS not picking up on it whatsoever. I'm sure it'll take them a little while to get that in, so we'll check back here with them in just a minute. That's the latest quake there on the globe, a 6.4 earthquake, Nepal. Some activity across the west coast today here as well. Let's go ahead and pull up the last 2.5 map and above. Doesn't look like a whole lot going on here across California in terms of any larger scale movement. All this activity is microquake activity out here today, as it has been in the past couple days. No unusual activity to note. Up into the Cascades, some movement outside of Mount St. Helens and also Mount Hood and Mount Rainier. Just generally small microquake activity here today. Further across the states, Texas area and Oklahoma, we're getting a lot of the oil fields hit here yesterday outside of Pecos, Texas, but it looks like some of that has calmed down, although we're still seeing a little bit of activity here this morning with a couple upper ones and even looks like a 2.1 and a 2.3 here within the vicinity of these oil fields out here. A lot of oil fields been getting hit with earthquake activity recently in the Texas area. A little bit of movement down here across the divergent boundary fracture zone out here in the Pacific-Antarctic ridge. This is a 5.7 earthquake. Generally, that strains the Pacific plate over here when we see that type of activity. We did see some further adjustment taking place following that movement this morning down south along that divergent boundary. Some deeper earthquake activity here into the Tonga Trench, 5.3 and a 4.8. That will continue to add further strain across this area of the plate boundary following these deeper movements. Just got a general pattern here that the plate dynamics tend to follow. That 6-pointer right now in Nepal occurring right around this plate boundary here. This area could definitely see a lot bigger earthquake activity than a 6.4. But we'll see what the USGS comes up with here as far as the data with that earthquake. We'll check it out here in a second as soon as they jump on it. Mauna Loa, goodness, what's going on up here at Mauna Loa? Some earthquake activity kicking up here at the summit region today for a couple hours, it looks like. Nothing big, but I'd say that's a little increase in earthquake activity here across the Mauna Loa area. So let's double check with the HVO here and see what's going on. These updates were put out yesterday. Does not include, well, it does include Mauna Loa in a monthly update, but this activity today has not been popped up here, so we'll check back here in a second, or a little bit later, I should say, on this activity. I want to check out the instruments out here myself and see what's going on here with the Mauna Loa volcano. Of course, Kilauea volcano has been somewhat active in terms of earthquake activity. What's going on here? There we go. That was a little on the odd side. Mauna Loa still sitting at a green because of the quietness that's been prevailing across that volcano. But looks like a little earthquake activity up there at the summit region. This is the past 12 hours. I've seen a couple earthquakes here locally. Not a huge deal, but it is a little bit of an uptick compared to the past couple months here of quiet activity. Tilt meter, it looks like past week of tilt taking a little turn up here towards inflation, it looks like, at least with this blue line. Not a huge event, but still what looks like maybe some inflation activity occurring up there. One of the cameras across the area show, well, not a whole lot there. Got looks like maybe the sun. Well, when's this from? Oh, this is from October 16th. Goodness, 2022. That will do us absolutely no good there. I'm not for sure what's going on with that camera, but might want to jump on those there. HVO, get those fixed. Is this one of the recent images? Nope. This is from what looks like March of this year. Goodness. All right. Tell me all summer long no cameras got put in here? Come on, taxpayer money out here. This has got to be done. I'm sure there's other cameras out here that work, right? Not going to spend all day out here looking for them, but yeah, there's a lot of old data out here. So we'll come back and look at this a little bit later on. Waste of time here looking at these seismograph or the webcams out here. It's non-functionable. This one's all right. We got one working here. This one's kind of looking at the Kilauea area, I believe. A little bit of volcanic gases out there once again into that area of the lava lake area of Kilauea volcano, which of course is going to continue for a little while. See that spewing up some volcanic gases there. As far as Kilauea volcano, let's double check that real quick and see what we have for the tilt inflation. Still continuing to level off here, it looks like, over the past couple days. Look at the last week or last 30 days, I should say. We're still showing some downturn here in deflation. Deflation occurring with the graph there across the Kilauea volcano. Let's see if we got anything yet on Nepal. Nothing yet. Not for sure why. Wow. How'd that go from a 6.4 to a 5.2? That is quite the downgrade. If that is the case, there's no way. There's no way that's a 5.2 because that's this seismograph signature right here tells us otherwise. That's Thailand area. Look at Japan, even showing up over here across the Japan area. Quite a distance away as a pretty good strong signature. So even on this Japan station, so I think that's a little off. There we go. Now it got jumped back up there to 6.1. I don't know what's going on. These guys, I don't even know if the agencies know what's going on here. They put out all this data, preliminary data, ups and downs in terms of magnitudes. Eventually they get it sorted out. I think that's why the USGS waits for so long. Well, these guys these guys are just reporting a 5.6 here. You guys see that? 5.6? So let's see if this has been reviewed yet. It has been reviewed by a seismologist there. And I don't know. I don't think that's going to stick. That's a little odd. Let's see, one station reporting a 6.1. Here's some of these magnitudes that some of the seismograph stations may be picking up, and their preliminary magnitude, 6.3, 6.7. There's a 7-pointer in here. I think this is going to get revised. This is a way preliminary degrade, D-magnitude, lower magnitude than what should be. I think this is going to get upgraded. There's no way a 5.6 is showing up thousands of miles away like that type of signature there in Thailand area. I know it sits right around here, right? But also Japan over here is picking up that seismic signature from this earthquake. So I don't see that being a 5.6. Maybe we'll get a final update here at the end of this video. Let's go ahead and get back into the world data real quick and see what's going on. A little bit of activity across Solomon Islands from yesterday. That was a 4.5. See what we've got on the earthquake 3D globe here. Still lacking a little bit of data here across this area. There we go. Last 24 hours of activity. So continued cluster of activity across the Philippines southward. Now I'm even more concerned about this area across the Java Trench, because this is this opens up a a more larger area of lack of seismic activity, that seismic gap zone, so to speak, here in this area about Sumatra area northward. Watch that region pretty closely. For the most part, we do see we see movement here in terms of momentum across the plate boundary when these deeper quakes occur back over in this area in the Tonga Trench region. It always tends to follow the plate boundary, and sometimes it can be thousands of miles away across the area. New Zealand having a little bit of activity following that divergent boundary movement this morning. That definitely New Zealand's going to move here, I think, soon. We've seen a lot of activity up north and also south here around it. Remember the activity here in the past 30 days. Let me pull this up here real quick. South here all along this divergent zone. Seen actually some decent movement as well. 6.3 and a 5.9 out here in these divergent zones. With very minimal activity here across New Zealand, to say the least here. We did see a 4.7 back in October, but that's around the Hikurangi subduction zone. Not a whole lot of direct movement here across the plate boundary, but I think that's coming real soon. They did see a 3.2 and a 3.0 following this 5.7 earlier this morning around the South Island area, and it looks like that is occurring right on the plate boundary itself. Let me bring up the GeoNet servers here real quick and see what we have going on for this beautiful Friday. It doesn't feel like a Friday. It feels kind of like a Monday to me. I don't know why. Here's all magnitudes. Let's see if we can find some of that activity. 2.3 2 hours ago. Where's the threes at? Where are our threes? 3.5 7 hours ago, but that's a Kermadec Trench. 3.2, there we go. South Island area, looks like it's just maybe just right off the plate boundary there. I would still keep an eye on the New Zealand area with this newer movement taking place there across this area of that divergent zone. All right, yeah, still sticking with the 5.6. I think that's going to get revised, though. To me, I think that's a little bit larger than a 5.6. Just looking at these seismic signatures, there's a P wave, right? A little primary wave here that kicked up in Japan following this supposed 5.6. And Japan's way over here, right? Most of my stations there for Japan are right along the Japan Trench area. So think of how many thousands of miles away this is for a 5.6 to register something like this. I'm leaning more towards probably a 6.4, 6.5 originally, as they had in the on the earthquake 3D globe. The EMSC still reporting this as a 6.1. It looks like 5.6. I don't think it doesn't look like a 5.6. No way. No way. That's just my own observation, though. 17 kilometers deep. I think these guys just wanted to rush it through real quick and put out a magnitude and just leave early in the office, right? It's Friday, the weekend coming up. We'll just put a 5.6 out there and call it good. All right, Iceland's still seeing a bunch of activity up here across the Reykjanes Ridge. Volcanic activity, I'm sure. Although we haven't seen any major increase in activity. The latest information here from the Iceland Volcano site. Refresh this, make sure we got the latest info. Still shows Rick Jane's area, this little area of volcanic activity. Well, I can't call it volcanic activity yet. I just call it earthquake activity and some tremor. Currently no eruption going on there across this area. The last eruption was 1240 CE, but I think that's coming as well with this earthquake activity that's been kicking up out there. All right, we just made a huge zigzag pattern and left a bunch of stuff unchecked. Let's see if we can cover it all, though. Alaska area did see some movement up here late last night with a 5.0 along the Aleutian Trench. But for the most part, generally smaller microquake activity prevailing out there across the area today. Around the Philippine plate here. Here's a deeper movement quake from yesterday. That's into the Izu Islands area, Izu Trench. Does add further strain out here across the area of this plate boundary. Did see a little bit of movement last night in this general area. Later last night, that was actually after this one here, this deeper quake. A little bit more shallow earthquake activity near Taiwan with a 4.7. And over here in Afghanistan, eastern Afghanistan, it looks like a 4.4 just after midnight. And what do we got going on across the Mediterranean today? It looks like this activity from yesterday, the latest one though, 5.1 in the Greece area near the Aegean Sea, just before midnight my time. It's the Indian Ocean, pretty quiet out there. Seeing if I forgot anything, missed anything. South America still seeing some activity, although a little bit further up north into this region here. It's not showing it on the USGS map, but it looks like this area up here is starting to move quite a bit. Most of this movement here from yesterday, the one that is showing up on the USGS side of things. Some slight activity here across the Middle America Trench, southern edge, with a couple fours stirring up out there. Looks like maybe around the Nicaragua area, Guatemala, down this area. Let's see here. Because the older movement quakes are a little bit further up north here in Mexico. So this area showing some uptick here today. 5.6. I don't think so. I don't know. It's probably going to change right after I get off here, get off the microphone. Again, the EMSC reporting this as a 6.1. Let me double check here and see. Now these guys are showing a 5.6. Hold on. 5.6. Gosh darn it. I don't know. I mean, that just looks a little bit... Okay. If these guys are saying a 5.6, then I guess it's a 5.6. I don't see how. It's thousands of miles away, creating a P wave over here in Japan. It's a little unusual to see a 5-pointer do that. Who knows? Maybe they'll revise it. All right, folks. Let's see what else we got for space weather activity. We'll give it another check here in just a little bit. We did see some movement overnight. It looks like some C flare activity over the past couple days. A little bit of M flare movement there from some far side sunspots, but it looks like we're toning back down now on the solar flare chart region. Let's go ahead and look at these areas of interest. It's going to be this area over here that's been creating a little bit of M flare activity. It still looks fairly complex at least in my visual perspective here. So we do have at least 3 sunspot regions, maybe of worth watching. This region over here, which is continuing to drift further to the southwestern off the southwestern quadrant of the sun. It'll be out of sight, out of mind here soon, and we're left with these 2 sunspots that I do think harbor some potential for some M flare activity. Just looking at them, they look somewhat active. May not be seeing it right now on the flare chart, but it's there. They're fairly complex looking. 85% chance for a C flare, M flare at 35, X flare around 5% chance. And look at the UV filter array here. giving us a visual of some of those regions that have these magnetic arches in them. They're fairly complex over here, and the same with this one. It's just they're not flaring currently. That's why we're not seeing a whole lot of activity on the solar flare detection chart. No auroras in the forecast, no major solar storms. So we're just going to watch that, and hopefully things will pick up. We do have this gigantic coronal hole. You can see it here even on the UV filter ray, or UV filter on that sun. Beautiful sun there. 67 is the name. And not for sure if this is going to provide any enhancement, though, to the 3-day. I have to watch that and see if it changes. Let me go over here to this movie. I kind of want to see what's going on here. Looks like maybe there was a filament eruption. We'll see how far this goes back. Maybe we missed it. This only goes back about an hour or so. You can kind of see it on this one here too. Let's kick this into motion. It's this large filament. We should see it blast off. It looks like Kevin was mentioning that it did overnight. Going to be this area right here. Looks like part of it did. There we go. That's a beautiful feature. I don't think that's going to be Earth directed though. Statement down here says the event did generate a coronal mass ejection and may have a partial Earth directed component. Low energy proton level streaming past our planet rose slightly, but remains well below the minor S1 radiation storm threshold. I don't think that's going to be directed. But we'll see if the professionals there adjust anything accordingly in the days ahead. All right, folks. Yeah, 5.6. That's just a little odd. All right, I'm not going to cover that anymore. If that's what they say it is, that's what it is, I guess. Storm Prediction Center here today. Shows just a little area of thunderstorm activity. That's about it. Nothing really for wind, tornadoes, or hail potential. Pretty quiet out there. A look at the numerical models. Been not liking this because it's been backing off here across the west coast in terms of, well, rainfall. Not a whole lot coming into the west coast, at least California for right now. We do have some colder, low-pressure systems moving into the Pacific Northwest, but by the time they get here to Northern California, well, they're pretty dry, but we at least have some cooler temperatures coming in. And, well, we'll have to see how that plays out here. Not seeing anything major as far as high pressure building out here along the west coast. Maybe towards the middle of November. I'm hoping that's not the case, but that's way in there. 2 weeks at most, 10 days from now. I'm ready for some rain. I don't know about you guys, but I want some wind. I want some rain. I want some clouds moving through the air. That's what I want. So bring it on. All right, folks. I'm going to jump off here. We'll catch you guys back here a little bit later. Look at those. I got to show you guys, though. Look at this. These are the S waves coming off of that 5.6. See these large wavy lines? 5-pointers don't really make that unless that station is really close nearby. But I don't think so, man. I think that's a bigger earthquake than what these guys are stating. There's it showing up there on the other Japan station as well. All right. Have a good Friday. We'll catch you guys back here a little bit later on tonight for the Friday night update. Take care, folks. Have a good one. Stay safe out there.